Okay, we are doing the central nervous system today, and the central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord. We're doing the brain now. The brain consists of cerebrum, which is this huge part, cerebellum, this small part in the back, diencephalon, which is the inside here, which is basically the thalamus and the hypothalamus. The thalamus is this part down here, and this will be the hypothalamus at this point here. Thalamus, hypothalamus. This is called the diencephalon. There are other parts, but these are the main parts. And then you have this brainstem. So again, brain is cerebrum, cerebellum, diencephalon, and brainstem. The diencephalon consists of two parts. This part here, this is called the thalamus, and this part underneath is called the hypothalamus. This part over here. You pause. Okay. So cerebrum, cerebellum, diencephalon, and brainstem. The brainstem is three parts. This part here, this is called the midbrain. This is called the pons, and this is called the medulla. Midbrain, pons, medulla. This is a section of the cerebellum. It just cuts into two parts, and this is what you see here. This is the part of the cerebellum. If you look further to the brain itself, the brain is gray matter outside, which is the cortex, and the white matter is the filling inside. And the cortex, as you see here, it's not smooth. It has all these features on it. When you see something like this is shallow depression. The shallow depression is called the sulcus. And you see this is the deep one, and this is called the fissure. This is called the lateral. Actually, this is a sulcus. It's a deeper one, but this is sulcus, lateral sulcus. And the fissures are going to be deep like this. This is called the fissure, and this one here is a fissure. This is called the longitudinal fissure, and this is called the transverse fissure. The longitudinal fissure, this is the major one, the largest of all, and this is separating the cerebrum into two parts, right hemisphere and left hemisphere, longitudinal fissure. This fissure here, this one, is separating the cerebrum, which is the major part, from the cerebellum. So these are the two sulcuses. Fissures, not sulcuses. Fissures. The sulcuses are the shallow ones. Now the sulcuses, that's going to divide the cerebral cortex into different parts. This one here is called the lateral sulcus. Lateral sulcus. This one here is called the central sulcus. Central sulcus. This is obviously the front, and this is the back. Why? Because the cerebellum is always in the back. So if you look at this is the central. Why it's called center? Because it's in the middle, at the center of the cerebral cortex. So this is the central sulcus. In front of the central sulcus, this lobe here is called the frontal lobe. This lobe behind it is called the parietal lobe. And this lobe under the lateral, this one here, is called the temporal lobe. And this lobe in the back is called the occipital. And if you remember the skull, this is the same parts as in the skull. Frontal in the front, occipital in the back, parietal up here, and the temporal is down here. You pause. Okay, so right. So the lobes, we're talking about the cerebral cortex, which is the cover of the brain here. And the cerebral cortex is divided into different parts, as we mentioned in this model down here. And these parts are separated by sulci, and this will be the lateral sulcus. This is the central sulcus. The central sulcus is separating the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. The lateral sulcus is separating the temporal lobe from both frontal and parietal. And here in the back is the occipital. That's four so far. We have actually a fifth one. This is four: frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital. The fifth one is something that you cannot see here unless you open the lateral sulcus and separate this. So it is hiding. It is like an island. And this is where the name insula came from. Insula means an island. So the insular cortex, or the insula, is you opening the lateral sulcus. You see another one down here, which is this one that's called the insula. So this is the fifth cortex that we need to know. Okay, so four that you can easily see: frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital, and the fifth one you have to open through the lateral sulcus, which is what we're doing in this model here. Open the lateral sulcus, you see the fifth one here, which is the insula. Now if you look at this again, this will be the central sulcus. The depressions are called sulci, and the elevations are called gyri. So sulcus, gyrus, sulcus, gyrus, sulcus, gyrus, and so on. Sulcus, gyrus. Out of those gyri, we need to know a couple of them. This is the central sulcus. The gyrus that's in front of it or anterior to it, this is called the pre-central gyrus. Pre-central mean in front of the central. This is the central, this is front, and this is back. So this will be the pre-central gyrus. How to know? Find the sulcus first. You see an elevation anterior to it. This will be called the pre-central gyrus. And the gyrus that's posterior to it is the post-central gyrus. These are the two gyri that we need to know. Okay, when we open the brain into two hemispheres, hemi means half, sphere means spherical shape. So this is right hemisphere and this is left hemisphere. If you look inside here, the structure in here, this to me it looks like a seahorse. If you look at it this way, looks like a seahorse. This is the eye of the seahorse. This is the mouth of the seahorse. This is like the eyebrow. This is like the front head. This is like the hair. Okay, this looks like the chest. This looks like the abdomen. Just like the pelvis and leg. So it kind of looks like the seahorse. So if you go through the structure of the seahorse, the eye here, this is the thalamus. The part that's under the eye to the front, this is called the hypothalamus. And this will be the optic chiasm. Optic chiasm means the optic, which is the optic nerve that's bringing sensation from the eye, bringing vision from the eye, will do like a crossing like this. So the mouth of the seahorse will be the optic chiasm. And you see something here, this is the olfactory, which is nerve number 1. We're not going to go through all the cranial nerves, but just 1, which is olfactory, and 2, which is the optic chiasm. Back to the seahorse, the eye is the thalamus, and anterior to the thalamus, this, or under the thalamus, this will be the hypothalamus. Okay, the hair of the seahorse, this is called the corpus callosum. Corpus callosum, and there is a blue structure here. It might be better in other structures like this, the blue here, or we might see even better in other models. We will see it, but this will be called the choroid plexus. Choroid plexus. Back to the seahorse again. The chest of the seahorse, we said chest, abdomen, pelvis, and leg or tail. The chest, this is called the midbrain with those two parts. In between here, this is called the aqueduct of the midbrain. So this, the chest is a midbrain. The abdomen is the pons. The pelvis is the thalamus, and the tail is the spinal cord that we're not doing now. Okay, chest, abdomen, pelvis, midbrain, pons, medulla. Pause.